Fever is taking a step to make sure Caitlin Clark remains in Indianapolis. Now, there has been growing concerns in the last recent years of Caitlin Clark playing in Indiana that the superstar actually might want to leave. Well, I'm here to tell you, I don't believe that is the case. I believe Caitlin Clark is a loyal person, and I believe she's going to stay in Indiana. Now, I do know a lot of fans want Stephanie White gone like yesterday, and I got to agree with them, man, because she be looking real spooky at times. Now, we know the new CBA deal has got done, and there was some loopholes in the CBA that garnered Caitlin Clark a bigger contract. Well, I'm here.
The deal may have been finalized, but the energy behind it had completely disappeared. Stephanie White was reportedly stunned by the developments coming out of Indiana. This wasn't just a routine decision, it signaled a deep breakdown of trust between the franchise player and management. Once talk of resignation began circulating inside the locker room, the atmosphere shifted instantly. The league's brightest star had effectively put the Fever on alert, and the reaction was immediate. Moments like this don't just create tension, they have the power to derail entire organizations and cut coaching careers short before they truly begin.
Late last night, let me blow this all the way up for you guys so y'all can see it. Now, this is being reported that the Indiana Fever has exercised Caitlin Clark fourth-year option, will makes her officially under contract through 2027. Now, Chloe Peterson was the one that broke this story. Now, what does this mean? Let's head on over to Chloe account and check it out. Now, in an unsurprising yet necessary move for the Fever, they have exercised Caitlin Clark fourth-year option. She is now officially under contract through 2027.
The Indiana Fever front office made a shocking move by activating Caitlin Clark's fourth-year option. On the surface, it appeared to secure her contract through 2027, but the underlying message felt far more complicated. What was meant to show commitment instead sparked tension. Rather than feeling like a positive step, it came across as an attempt to hold on to a player who may already be considering her future elsewhere. This wasn't simply a procedural decision, it felt like a calculated response to growing uncertainty surrounding their biggest star.
The most interesting part of it all, because to be honest with you guys, Caitlin Clark do not have to add an extension. She could just take the contract up until 2027 and opt out and choose to leave. Now, this is the Indiana Fever front office trying to show solidarity, I believe, with Caitlin Clark by basically letting her know, you know what, Caitlin, we got you. If you think Aaliyah payday was big, wait until you see yours. Cheese. That's what they doing. Now, we know Caitlin Clark literally could go to any.
Reporter Chloe Peterson revealed the update that quickly spread across the WNBA world. The Fever's decision to extend that fourth-year option wasn't entirely unexpected, and in many ways it was necessary to maintain stability. However, the situation becomes more complicated upon closer look. By securing her contract through 2027, the organization may have created long-term pressure rather than relief. Clark now holds the option to renegotiate or extend, yet current reports indicate she has no plans to pursue that path. The lack of response from her side speaks volumes and leaves many questions unanswered.
Team in the entire WNBA and be the highest paid player ever. So to me, it's not about the money with Caitlin. Caitlin has the ball in her court after 2027 because Caitlin can simply go anywhere she wants to go. Whether that stay in Indiana or whether that go out to LA, maybe even New York. We know Caitlin Clark like New York. New York is a way bigger market for her than Indiana, but I feel like it.
Many fans are beginning to interpret this situation as a quiet step back from the team's long-term vision. Although she remains under contract, there's a growing sense that her commitment may not fully align with the franchise's future. Possibility of her staying in Indiana for the long haul feels increasingly uncertain. She could simply play out her contract until 2027 and leave without offering the team any return, which would be a worst-case scenario for management. Right now, that possibility seems very real, and it's clearly creating concern within the organization.
Because of her notoriety, hell, somebody just listed her as being the GOAT in conversations with Michael Jordan and LeBron James. It was a clip that was going around, and somebody straight listed her as being the GOAT. That is the impact this young lady has brought to fans. And what's crazy about it is it ain't even up for debate. It's not even up for debate, bro. We know Caitlin Clark to go. So I think the most interested thing moving forward is going to be what Caitlin Clark will do, because I believe she got all the way into.
When looking at the bigger picture, market size plays an important role. Indiana has a strong basketball culture, but larger markets like New York or Los Angeles offer a completely different level of exposure. Caitlin Clark is already viewed as a global superstar, even being mentioned alongside legends like Michael Jordan and LeBron James. For a player of her stature, a smaller market can start to feel limiting. While the front office continues to show support, she understands her value, knowing she could join any team and instantly become one of the highest-paid players in the league.
Young lady substantially well. Somebody said now they have the leverage to fully ruin her without fearing her leave. CC is stupid. I wouldn't say she's stupid. She didn't have a choice. Somebody said next year, Caitlin will renegotiate a 3-year max contract to go free agent the same year as Aaliyah Boston. I don't know. What's the most amount of years you can sign a contract for? Is 10 years. 10 years possible. I don't know about that. Somebody said, what if she was a terrible season statistically? They could regret.
The root of this entire situation can be traced back to how the Indiana Fever handled communication during last season when Caitlin Clark was dealing with injuries. The front office remained unclear with both fans and the media, repeatedly shifting updates about her condition. What started as a day-to-day situation kept getting extended with no firm answers. This created frustration among supporters and, more importantly, left players feeling unsupported by their own organization. When trust breaks down at that level, it often pushes a superstar to start thinking about leaving before the situation deteriorates further.
Injured 1 year, now she's injury prone, bro. I gotta read these comments because I know they finna light him up. Somebody said, you realize last date to pick up the 4th year stitch, it is May 15th of 2026. Rage bait. She is not injury prone. Last season was the only injury she's ever had. Also, you think the Simon family is going to let her go off the person who revived their franchise? She had an economic impact on Indiana. She is an all WNBA player when healthy and just won an MVP. Exactly. Somebody else said she literally had 3 different injuries last year. Oh, no, that's the same dude.
One of the most important elements of the new collective bargaining agreement is the extension window now in front of Caitlin Clark. She has until the end of the upcoming season to decide whether to commit long-term to Indiana or test free agency. Many insiders expect her to delay that decision until later in the year, giving the organization time to prove it can build a competitive and stable environment. If meaningful progress isn't made, the expectation is that she could move on. This stage, she holds the leverage, while the front office faces increasing pressure to deliver results.
To leave Indiana, strictly not because of the fans, not because of the location, just solely because of the front office. A lot of people has lost faith in the Indiana Fever front office that support Caitlin Clark, and they had every right to. It boils back to last season when she got injured, man. There was a lack of transparency. It was, man, everything's day to day. It was she should be back by August. August came, no answer. Oh, she should be back possibly before the playoffs. Playoffs came, no answer. Then it was rumblings that Caitlin Clark was actually ready to go, and they actually wanted to save her for this season. So whatever the case may be, she's there.
Clark eventually leaves Indiana. Many believe it won't be because of the fans or the city itself, but rather due to concerns with the organization's leadership. Confidence in the Indiana Fever front office has declined, largely stemming from how last season was handled. During her injury period, updates remained inconsistent and often unclear, with expectations repeatedly changing without resolution. There were even suggestions at one point that she might have been ready to return earlier but was held back for strategic reasons. Regardless of what truly happened, the situation created doubt and frustration, and those lingering concerns continue to shape how people view her future with the team. Some people believe Caitlin Clark is the kind of loyal star who would remain in Indiana regardless of how difficult things become. But loyalty works both ways, and many feel the Indiana Fever haven't upheld their side of that balance. When a franchise player starts to feel like an asset instead of a true partner, the situation quickly turns into pure business. Stephanie White understands this dynamic better than most, which explains why her reaction to the recent developments was so intense. From her perspective, the warning signs are obvious, even if ownership appears unwilling to acknowledge them. Supporters have also voiced concerns about the front office's recent behavior, with a growing belief that their actions are more about control than genuine commitment. Relying on technicalities in the CBA to secure an additional year does not carry the same meaning as building trust and respect. If the overall environment doesn't improve significantly, neither financial incentives nor contract extensions may be enough to keep Clark in Indiana, and many fans are already preparing for the possibility of a trade request to a franchise that values her properly. At the same time, critics have started questioning her durability after a challenging stretch that included multiple injuries, using that narrative to argue the team should have been more cautious. However, that argument overlooks a much larger reality. Clark has been the driving force behind the franchise's resurgence. The Simon family are fully aware that losing the player who revitalized the team would have major consequences. Her impact goes far beyond performance on the court. She has brought unprecedented attention, packed arenas, and national exposure that the team rarely experienced before. If she were to leave, the organization's value and visibility would likely decline immediately. This explains why the front office appears so determined to maintain control, even if their approach is being questioned. Trade speculation continues to grow, especially if future negotiations fail to meet expectations, and it's clear she doesn't need to remain in a situation where she feels undervalued or unsupported. Some fans have even encouraged her to seek a better opportunity, pointing to past examples of elite players being held back by ineffective management. There is also growing speculation about strategic contract decisions, including the possibility of a shorter deal that could align her free agency timeline with Aaliyah Boston. Such a scenario could completely reshape the future of the Fever if both stars chose to leave at the same time. That outcome would represent a major reset for the franchise and create ripple effects across the league. Reports suggest that Stephanie White is deeply concerned about this possibility, as it would leave the team in a difficult position. Many observers view the decision to exercise the contract option as an attempt to delay or prevent that scenario, though it may only offer temporary relief. Public perception of the Fever's leadership has dropped significantly, with reactions to the contract news reflecting frustration rather than optimism. Fans have openly criticized the lack of transparency and what they see as a disregard for Clark's autonomy, an unusual situation where a fan base sides strongly with a player over management. It's rare for a single athlete to hold this level of influence, but Clark's presence in Indianapolis has shifted the balance of power. Comparisons to legends like Michael Jordan highlight just how transformative her impact has been, both culturally and commercially. She represents more than just talent. She's a generational figure whose influence extends across the sport. In situations like this, teams typically build around such a player, yet the current approach suggests a disconnect between leadership and reality. While the updated CBA was designed to empower players, it has also introduced complexities that teams are now trying to navigate in their own favor. The Fever's recent move, which initially received limited attention, is now being examined more critically as the broader implications continue to unfold. Within a few hours, the reaction shifted dramatically once fans became aware of the situation, and the backlash was immediate. Many interpreted the move as an attempt to assert control rather than build trust. However, controlling a player like Caitlin Clark is far from simple, especially when her earning potential through endorsements and off-court opportunities can surpass her team's salary. That level of influence gives her unmatched freedom in shaping her future. Everything now depends on how events unfold before the end of the year. If she chooses not to sign an extension within that window, the Indiana Fever could face serious consequences. Every game played without long-term security becomes a calculated risk where any misstep, whether another injury-related issue or a poorly handled statement, could push the situation closer to a breaking point. Pressure is mounting rapidly, and Stephanie White is fully aware of how critical each moment has become. The organization has framed its decision as a sign of unity, but many supporters remain unconvinced. From their perspective, genuine commitment would have meant offering a long-term maximum contract instead of relying on a basic option. As a result, the move is widely seen as a tactic to buy time rather than a reflection of true confidence. Public opinion has largely turned against the front office, with critics arguing that the strategy has damaged trust both externally and within the locker room. At the same time, it's no secret that Clark is drawn to larger markets, where visibility and opportunity are amplified. While Indiana has provided a solid foundation, the appeal of cities like New York continues to loom in the background. If the franchise cannot deliver a professional, transparent, and competitive environment, questions about her long-term future will only intensify. Throughout all of this, Clark has maintained a composed and professional approach, yet her silence has not gone unnoticed. She has avoided making any strong public statements in support